Welcome back, team, to week 2 of our NIL office hours. This is about compliance, staying eligible while maximizing opportunity. What we want to do is cover some quick housekeeping. Last week, we covered NIL 101, the foundation. This week, we're going to build on it. One sentence recap: NIL is real, it's accessible, and it starts with understanding the rules. Today is about compliance, and again, we're joined by Coach. The rules that protect your eligibility and your future. We're going to get into a quick introduction on who Coach is, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it myself. I'm Thomas Rowe, co-founder of Blueprint to Blue Chip, and I'm a sports performance coach, and I work closely with my co-host and my co-founder, Aaron Sarles. Aaron, welcome. Coach, good to see you. Aaron, tell the audience a little bit about you.
Okay, real quick here, guys. I am Aaron. I'm co-founder alongside Thomas here. And my background is number one, I'm a mom. So you see my son Jake there on the screen. So I get to use his name, image, and likeness because I'm his mother. So no, son, you're not getting paid at this point from your mom on this. I think you get paid pretty well from all the money requests I send to you. On the other front is my focus is really on the character development. Who are these young athletes becoming so they can make the right choices when it comes to matters of NIL compliance, and you're not looking back and making the wrong decisions. So Thomas and I are the 1-2 punch when it comes to the athletic development and performance. And we're so grateful to be joined by Coach John. Take it away, Coach John. Tell us a little bit about you and your passion for this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it again. Excited about this week. Talking about compliance. Again, my name is John Bronkhorst. I'm a financial professional with Capital Wealth Strategies in Austin, Texas. Retired athletic administrator and a head coach of 30 years. I'm excited about, this is one of my passions, talking about NIL and revenue sharing income and helping student athletes and parents and coaches understand this space and helping them take those steps to understand it and stay compliant and also to protect that income. So I think, when you think of compliance, it's not the most exciting word in sports, but it's probably without a doubt the most important word in sports. So I'm excited about diving into this week.
Awesome. Again, team, today's about compliance, just like to build off what Coach said. So, Coach, let's get right into it. What exactly is compliance, and what does it mean in plain language?
Yeah, basically, when you talk about compliance, compliance basically is just understanding the rules, understanding the things that matter, so you don't lose your eligibility. For me, when I think of compliance, compliance mistakes happen because athletes simply don't know the rules. And so today's goal is simple: helping parents, athletes, coaches, advisors understand how to protect eligibility while navigating the NIL and revenue sharing income space. Gotcha. It's pretty clear and simple.
Awesome. And who actually enforces it? Is it the NCAA, the conference, the school, or the state?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the big mistakes that athletes don't know, is that they assume the rules are the same for everyone, and they're not. The athlete may be subject to state laws, high school association rules, NCAA rules, conference rules, school policies, team policies. It's all at the same time. Okay. And so those are the areas that, that oversee compliance in those areas.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, there's definitely 4 layers that we're going to get into. Layer 1 is the NCAA rules, and then 2 is conference rules, 3 school policies, 4 state laws. So, Coach, let's get into layer 1, the NCAA rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest resource and most important resource I'd tell student athletes, parents, coaches is to simply get onto the ncaa.org website and get onto their NIL page, because it's pretty cut and dry on what's allowed and not allowed. Okay, and so what's allowed by the NCAA is you're allowed to be paid specifically for the use of your NIL, for your name, image, and likeness, such as ads, posts, or appearances. The deal has a valid business purpose tied to a real product, service, or event offered to the public. Compensation is within a reasonable range for people with similar fame or influence. And then they also may use an agent or a marketing professional for those NIL activities. The things that are not allowed, and we talked a little bit about this the other day, is making sure that compensation is not outside a reasonable range for similar deals, but also the pay with no required promotional activity or deliverables. So basically, you can't accept money for not doing services. Not promoting you. They can't simply write you a check for $1 million and say, "Hey, thanks for being in our program." There has to be a business exchange.
Sure.
What's also not allowed? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Coach.
Also, what's not allowed are agreements that say your NIL will be used later with no defined plan.
Got it.
And then lastly, pay for play, including payment to attend or compete for a specific school or compensation for athletics participation or achievement. And there's a lot of gray area there nowadays.
Sure.
Because you see a lot of these schools who are all of a sudden they have somebody who's coming on who played at another school, and now all of a sudden he's getting a $3 million contract to come to Texas Tech or to University of Texas or USC or wherever.
Sure. And that leads us right into layer 2, which is the conference rules, because with the transfer portal right now, and I think that's going to get a little bit tightened up, you're starting to see athletes who jump around, and there's a different set of rules for conferences as well. Could you get into that?
Yeah. I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that there are so many different layers to conference rules when it comes to NIL, and that's the big thing right now, is that, you look at, from junior college transfers that transfer Division I, transfers to or within Division I, every conference has a different rule.
Sure.
And so that's when you have the Senate Oversight Committee talking about the Senate bill about balancing out college athletics, these are the areas that they're specifically talking about, is making sure that everybody plays for the same with the same set of rules under the same umbrella. And the same thing happens with high school associations. Every state's different. You have some kids who, if I'm a kid in Texas and I'm a high profile athlete, and I want to, I have an opportunity to make money off myself and my name, why not transfer to a different state?
Right.
That allows for it, because in Texas you're not allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of parameters, a lot of things that go on in this space that is just, again, I use this phrase a lot, and I'll probably use it for the next 11 more weeks. Is this the Wild Wild West? Because there are so many different sets of rules. We got 50 states with 50 different sets of rules.
Sure.
We've got Power 5 conferences with 5 different sets of rules, and so it's just crazy how this has evolved in such a short period of time with zero governance.
Right.
The NCAA doesn't even have governance over its own programs anymore. And today, with the ruling on Brendan Sorsby today, is a perfect example of that. And so it's just amazing how little oversight there truly is when it comes to this.
Exactly. And then layer 3 is school policies. Your particular school is very specific. Can you get into that?
Yeah. And so again, depends on, if you're going to a high school, if you're going to a school that is really athletic minded, and so there may be very lax rules when it comes to this. Hey, let's go after and bring in the best. You might have schools whose administration isn't pro athletic, so they're very, very tight on the things that they allow and have access to. So again, you have to do your due diligence.
Sure.
On everything. And that's the biggest thing right now is you have to ask yourself the question is, can I do this? Before you ask that question of can I do this, you need to ask which rule applies to me.
Sure.
And so those things are extremely important. And there's so much information out there. The problem is that there's no specific information out there.
Right.
I wish that I could sit here and come on here and talk about specific NCAA rules, specific conference rules, specific high school rules, but there's so many of them.
Right.
Right. And so, there's just the biggest things on what to touch on today are just some basic non-assumptive things that you need to look out for as a student athlete and a parent.
For sure. And therefore is state laws. And I know you're very familiar with Texas. That's where your home base is. You want to get into a little bit about state laws?
Yeah, state laws. I mean, depending, that's really going to be run by your state governing bodies. Like here in the state of Texas, the University Interscholastic League oversees high school athletics in the state of Texas. They've made it clear that NIL is very limited. And so, in the state of Texas, you have to be 17 and your eligibility has to be used, has to be complete before they can take advantage of it. But even when they take advantage of it, that money gets put into a trust until they're graduated. So they don't even get to see their money until after they graduate. Now, you have some states like Ohio, for example, who, those kids can take full advantage of their name, image, and likeness. And so if it's social media posts, if it's product placement or product pushing, or if it's going to the local dealership and doing promos for them for a car, you have a lot of these states who have just different sets of rules. And it's like I was saying, if I'm a 5-star quarterback in the state of Texas, I know football's king here in the state. But if I'm looking to make money off my name, image, and likeness, why not go to Ohio? Why not go to California? Why not go to Florida, where I can take advantage of those things?
Exactly. All right, Coach, let's get into some questions. Team, every once in a while, we love to go live, which we generally always will on Tuesday at 9 a.m. But what we're doing also to accommodate Coach's schedule is this is being taped on Monday, the 8th. But what we did is we reached out to our audience because we got a ton of feedback. So, Coach, I'm going to get into some questions here. Question 1, I honestly didn't know I had to report everything. I thought it was only deals over a certain dollar amount. What's the actual threshold? Is there any NIL activity that does not need to be reported?
Yeah, so basically for high school prospects planning to play in college, like for example, for Division I, the report threshold, all third-party NIL deals worth $600 or more since July 1st of 2025 or starting your junior year of high school, whichever is later, the aggregate smaller payments with the same payer that totals $600 or more, those must be reported. The timing within 14 days after you start full-time classes or before your first Division I game, whichever comes first.
Got it.
And so again, the NCAA website, ncaa.org with their NIL covers a lot of these rules. So yeah, they're for those high school prospects planning to play, say Division I, it's a $600 threshold or more.
Well, that pretty much leads into our next question. I posted on Instagram story bragging or tagging a brand I genuinely like. They sent me free product. I didn't think much about it. Do I have to report that? What about posts where I wasn't paid at all, but I'm clearly promoting something?
Right. So the question is basically, do I need to report every NIL deal? Is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Correct.
Based on
So athletes should always follow their school's reporting requirements. Or if I'm a high school athlete, my state's reporting requirements and compliance procedures. Because the biggest thing is, when in doubt, disclose and ask questions. Don't ever assume that, hey, just because it's this or just because it's that, I don't need to disclose that. Disclose everything.
Got it.
Ask the questions, because when you do that, they'll come back and say, hey, thank you for disclosing this, but this is something that you don't need to worry about. And so rather than not disclose it and get yourself in an eligibility issue later down the road, disclose everything. Make sure, because you don't want to get yourself in trouble. Don't assume anything when it comes to NIL.
Sure, which leads into the next question. I think I already messed up. I did a deal 3 months ago and didn't report it. I didn't know I was supposed to. What do I do now? Now, is it too late to self-report? What happens if I just don't say anything?
Well, it's never too late to self-report, because even if you do get in trouble, the trouble is going to be less, okay, than if you just ignore it and they find out later down the
Sure.
road. It's like that telling that lie. If I tell that lie and no one knows about it, okay, I'm fine. But as soon as that lie gets found out, the punishment's going to be significantly more because I withheld the information.
Got
Okay,
it.
so
Yeah.
even you made the mistake, own it, own the mistake that you didn't think about it, you didn't think you needed to. Own the mistake, report it, and then go from there. And whatever medicine you need to take the medicine, because it's going to be significantly less now than it is down the road because if you're purposely hiding it, that's where you're going to get yourself into a heap of trouble with compliance and with eligibility rules.
For sure. It's one of those, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission, right?
Yes.
Coach, I'm a walk-on athlete. Are my compliance requirements the same as a scholarship athlete, or are there different rules for me?
No, it is all the same. It does not matter if you're under scholarship or if you're walk on. If you are participating in a NCAA sport and you are on the roster, and you're taking money through an NIL deal, you need to report it.
Got it. Which is the next question. I'm an international student athlete on a visa. Are there additional compliance issues I need to be aware of beyond just NCAA, or could NIL income affect my visa status?
Now, it should not. Those rules are continually evolving. The biggest thing I will tell you is get with your compliance office to make sure that you have all of your I's dotted and T's crossed when it comes to your visa and your NIL deal. Because those are the ones that you see a lot of mistakes being made with our international student athletes, because not all those boxes have been checked. So make sure you get with your compliance office and make sure that, again, all those I's are dotted and T's crossed for that.
Awesome. I'm in the transfer portal right now. Am I still bound by my current school's compliant rules, or do they apply differently? And can I sign NIL deals while I'm in the portal?
Yes, you can. And right now, unless you've been released from your scholarship, you are still under the rules of your current school. Okay. If they have completely released you, you are not under compliance of your former university's rules. And yes, you still need to make sure you report everything, and you can still sign NIL deals. You do not need to be locked into a university per se.
Got it. Okay, so those were the athletes. Let's get into some of the parents. Our son signed a deal during the summer before his freshman year started. He didn't know he needed to wait until he was officially enrolled. Did he violate anything? And if so, what do we do now?
Okay, so read that one back, because that was a little bit confusing, because if I understood it right, he's an incoming freshman.
Correct.
He signed an NIL deal prior to entering campus.
Correct.
Okay. From my understanding, no rule has been broken there. Okay. But again, it's going to sound like a default answer. Your compliance office will help you in that area. Okay. Ask the questions. I can't emphasize that enough.
Sure.
To our athletes and our parents. If in doubt, ask the question. Okay, reach out to them and say, because again, they may not even know the answer to the question yet. But if it's on record that you contacted them, it's going to limit your exposure from a eligibility standpoint and getting in trouble.
Gotcha. Okay, this is a tricky one. This is one of those who's on first, what's on second. Our son goes to school in one state. He's from another state and is being solicited by brands in a third state. Which state's NIL laws apply to him?
Where he currently resides with his university.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing here is this, okay, and we're going to talk about this later down the road when we get into taxes. one of the things that that parents and athletes have to understand is that there is what is called a jock tax.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys are, either one of you are aware of the jock tax. The jock tax really has been mostly relegated to professional athletes. Every athlete, every professional athlete that plays in the different states, they are subject to those state tax laws. Okay. And so, like, for example, Sam Darnold was a perfect example this year. They played the Super Bowl in California, and his Super Bowl allotment and everything that came with that was he actually lost money because of the taxes in California.
Oh boy.
And so that's the jock tax. So for student athletes now who are in college, every time that they leave their state, like Texas, for example, if I'm an athlete at the University of Texas, we have no state income tax. I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
I don't have to worry about it. But if I go to a state that has state income tax, I have to worry about it now. Sure. Because I played a game at in that state. And so what I would tell you is that make sure you get with your CPA, with your tax professional, when it comes to those dynamics where you have 3 states that are involved, and making sure that all tax compliance rules are in place for you.
Got it. Next one, what record should we be keeping as a family of our daughter's NIL activity? What documentation does she need, and how long does she need to keep it?
Great question. If money is involved, documentation matters. Okay. So save all contracts, save all emails, save all payment records, save all invoices, save all tax documents, save all communication regarding the deals, because documentation protects the athlete. Okay. I have an old coaching saying. In coaching, we watched film, right? In NIL, you keep records. Both help protect you from mistakes. Okay, so make sure and keep all those records till the time they graduate college, until they're done with their eligibility. Because you don't want those surprises coming back to you. When you're doing taxes or something, and somebody tries to claim something. Make sure, especially when it comes to contracts, if you have somebody who signed an NIL deal with someone, and they're saying that, hey, we provide, we paid you for this service, and you never fulfilled that service, you now owe us. And if you have the contract and the documentation, you come back to them and say, no, I provided the services that were in the contract. That's why documentation is important, and make sure you save all of that all the way through your eligibility.
No question. All right, let's get into the coach's corner. This is from a coach. What's my actual legal responsibility as a coach when it comes to my athletes' NIL compliance? If one of my athletes violates something, what happens to me and my program?
Sure. So the role that coaches play in NIL, you don't need to be an NIL expert. Okay. But the big thing is you need to encourage education, accountability, and you need to always be asking questions of your state associations. Get with, like here, I use Texas, for example, getting with the Texas High School Coaches Association, and talking to them and understanding, hey, I've got kids that are participating in this. Great coaches help athletes understand that NIL is part of the bigger picture of development. Okay. And so the biggest thing is making sure that you create a culture of compliance. Okay. And so making sure that you don't need to know the ins and outs of NIL, but you need to make sure you know the ins and outs of compliance in your state.
Got it.
Okay. And that way you can, and then sit down every preseason. Like, for example, when August rolls around, when you're getting ready to have that big school athletic meeting, that should be part of that discussion. It doesn't matter if you've got athletes who are not going to be participating in NIL. You're going to have athletes who will be. You need to have that full school talk, so everybody knows.
Sure. This is from a high school coach. Wow, they're really starting to dip down. I'm seeing boosters in our program getting very involved in athletes' NIL deals, connecting them with businesses, facilitating deals. What's the line between legitimate NIL and pay for play? How do I protect my program and my athletes?
Yeah, and that's the thing that we're seeing more and more of. And I would tell you that that starts with you in regards to your culture of compliance,
Sure.
making sure that you're educating your parents. Because what you don't want happening, coach, is you don't want parents and athletes going behind your back and negotiating these deals that are going to have a negative impact on your program. Because at the end of the day, you're the head of that program, you're the leader of that program. All right. And if a student athlete does not, is not in compliance with your state's regulated, deal when it comes to NIL deals, it's going to look like you run a rogue program and you're going to get held responsible, even though you didn't even have anything to do with it. It just means that they're going to look at you and say that you lost control. You have no institutional control over your families or in your kids. So make sure that, again, it goes back to make sure that all of your families understand what the do's and don'ts are.
Sure.
You got to have a conversation with your booster clubs and your boosters on what they can and cannot do. You can't, you can't control those things, but if you have those discussions, you can help protect yourself and making sure that you're completely documenting all those conversations so those people know.
Got it.
And if you have a rogue booster who does those things, turn them in. As painful as that is, you've got to turn them in.
Interesting. Yeah. You almost bite the hand that feeds you, right?
Yeah.
Coach, in preparing for the show, we get a lot of the same questions, and this one seemed to pop up across all spectrums, coaches, parents, and athletes. What's the most common compliance violation you see athletes make? The one that keeps happening over and over that athletes could easily avoid?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just simply, I think we got it earlier, not knowing.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I needed to report that.
Got it.
Ignorance is not bliss.
Right.
And just because you don't, just because you think it's just a very minor deal, there's no such thing as minor deals anymore when it comes to this, because we're talking about your eligibility.
Sure.
We're talking about money being involved in that. Those things are that's a slippery slope. So
Right.
Making sure that you are staying compliant and making sure that any services that are traded, it doesn't matter if it's for just brand on brand stuff, if it's through a social media access, if it's money, document it and report it.
Got it.
The governing bodies will tell you, hey, thank you. You don't need to report that, but at least you know now.
Right.
But if you don't report it and then it gets found out down the road, that's where you're going to get yourself in a world of hurt. So
Sure.
You can't play the ignorance card.
Got it. Coach, you mentioned that understanding compliance is actually a competitive advantage. Can you get into that a little bit deeper? And how does knowing the rules better than anyone else actually help an athlete?
Because what it does, it shows those parents and athletes that you're staying on top of this NIL revenue sharing space. Because
Right.
you can't not get on social media or on ESPN or wherever and not see something that has to do with NIL.
Sure.
And student athlete. So when you are setting that culture in place that says, hey, this is the type of program we're running, and we have all of these things in place for our student athletes and parents. Those families, those parents and those athletes look at that and say, that's a well-rounded program that's going to benefit my son or daughter
Right.
in the long run. That's what I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of an athletic program or a team that's not just looking at what I do on the field or on the court, but also is going to have my whole interest at heart. And so they're doing their due diligence and making sure that they're keeping up with the latest trends and the compliance and the things behind the scenes that directly impact me. And so when you see, again, it's that culture of compliance that's very, very important.
Got it. Final question, Coach, same question as last week. If every athlete, parent, or coach that are listening right now, what is one thing that they could do this week to get their compliance right? What would it be?
I think, one of the lessons that I learned after 30 years in education and coaching is this. And this is going to be I'll get to the answer, I promise you. Okay. Discipline isn't tested when things are easy.
Sure.
Discipline is tested when excitement takes over.
Right.
Right. So most compliance mistakes happen because athletes become excited about an opportunity and skip the process.
Right.
The process exists to protect the opportunity. Okay. So remember, talent creates opportunities, but preparation determines outcomes.
100%.
Okay. And so those would be the things that I would say to take away is making sure that you are doing your due diligence when it comes to this NIL revenue sharing space.
Sure.
Okay. Because for me, it's like last week. And I will probably share this, every week. Ask yourself 3 questions. Do I know which rules apply to me? Who do I contact if I have a compliance question? Am I documenting and protecting my opportunities?
Sure.
Because the athletes who succeed in this new era won't just be talented, they'll be informed, they'll be prepared, and they'll understand the rules of the game they're playing. Those are to me, the coach's challenge for all of you today.
Awesome. Coach, where can our audience get a hold of you, whether that's a website, email, or social media handles?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn, John Bronkhorst. You can't miss that. And then also on Twitter at Coach Bronk. Our website is www.cwsplanning.com. And then my email address is john.bronkhorst@cwsplanning.com. I, again, highly encourage everyone to reach out. If you got a question about NIL, eligibility, anything that we talked about, reach out to me. I answer questions as fast as they come in. And if not, I'm just because I'm driving or meeting with a client. But I will answer your question as soon as I get to it and see it. And so look forward to, again, don't be shy. And if you've got resources out there of people like myself who have information, reach out and ask the questions. Because that, again, it's very important. Ask the questions.
Awesome. Team, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Aaron, thank you for everything you do. Team, if you need to go, Aaron and I are the co-founders of Blueprint to Blue Chip, and we help coaches, athletes, and families get to the next level, whatever that level is. And right now, this level that we're focusing on is NIL with Coach. Next week, June 16th, we're going to be working on contracts. You've got the foundation, you understand the rules. Now what happens when the brand actually puts a contract in front of you? What does it say? What should it say? What are the red flags? That's next week. Register in the chat right now, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Coach, Aaron, thank you so much, team. Have a great week.